And the UFC returns this Saturday to Paris, France in the Accor Arena for a middleweight main event in a fight that may determine the #1 contender for the middleweight championship of the world, currently held by Khamzat Chimaev. France's own Nassourdine Imavov takes on the Fighting Nerds' Caio Borralho. Obviously, there's a fight in Vancouver, British Columbia later in the year between Anthony Hernandez and Reinier de Ridder that may decide a #1 contender spot. But this obviously is the fight for now. Co-main event, Benoit Saint-Denis takes on Mauricio Ruffy. So we've got France versus Fighting Nerds for the final 2 bouts of this card. 14 total fights in the UFC debut of Lucine Keita as he takes on Patricio Pitbull out of nowhere. That fight gets put together. Oh my goodness, that's on 3 weeks' notice. Difficult fight for Pitbull, but we'll get there when we get there. 14 fights on this card, and folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC predictions here on the channel. We will have our Contender Series predictions later on the week, so make sure to join us for that, probably tomorrow on Monday, and make sure to check out the main channel, Greedo Plays Daily MLB and College Football Best Bets, or College Football Weekly MLB Daily. College football predictions, we do every single game, every single week. Videos over 2.5 hours long. Go make sure to check that out Monday for week number 2. Okay, on to the first of our 14 fights. Let's lock in here for UFC Paris. Our first fight, a banger. Shanna Bannon versus Sam Hughes. Let's go. Sam Page is back. Sam Hughes, who is 10-6 professionally, gets to fight 7-1 Shanna Bannon, nickname Mama B. I'm taking Sam Hughes to win a fight. Oh, goodness. I've never taken Sam Hughes to ever win a fight in her UFC career. Wow. I'm doing it here. I was just looking on the Tapology predictions tracker, or like the history. I've never taken Sam Hughes to win a fight in the UFC. I'm doing it right now. Sam Hughes has won back-to-back fights. Did she beat Stephanie Luciano? Did she beat Victoria Dudakova? Well, I thought she beat Luciano. I don't know. You can give that fight to Luciano. I think it's not a horrible scorecard. Dudakova, Sam Hughes won the fight. Dudakova just sucks at fighting. I don't know how that was a split decision. Okay. So Sam Hughes has won 3 of 4. Date back to a loss back in February of 2024 to Yasmina Yargi, and then a win over Jacqueline Amorim in Miami, Florida back in April 2023. And again, that gets you wins in 3 of her last 4 bouts. Hell, you can date all the way back. She's got wins in 5 out of her last 7. Somehow Sam Hughes has done this. I don't know how she's a 10-6 fighter, but she continues to find ways to win. And obviously the UFC broadcast and commentary booth, they're going to go at lengths to talk about the conditioning and the cardio and the gas tank out of Sam Hughes. Oh, she does cross country or she runs marathons, something like that. Here, and Paul Felder obviously gushes over that because, oh, I run marathons too, and that's cool. I don't do marathons because it seems like those would suck. Anyways, the gym's cool enough for me. Regardless, they talk about her great cardio, and Sam Hughes does have that. She is going to be in there the 14th minute of the fight, the 13th, the 15th minute of the fight, the final minute of the fight, right? Sam Hughes will always be there. She will be in your face. She'll be looking to push a pace. She will look to wrestle you. She is a gritty fighter, okay? She is. She is not pretty, but Sam Hughes finds ways to win fights. For Shanna Bannon, this is a fighter who is 2-1 in the UFC octagon, made her UFC debut back in July of 2023 in a loss to Bruna Brazil. A loss that doesn't really age that poorly. Bruna Brazil just won her last fight in Shanghai, China. Not a bad loss. Now, the thing with Shanna Bannon's next 2 fights, a split decision win over Alice Ardeline. She wins. Kind of. Go back and rewatch Shanna Bannon and Alice Ardeline. I think Alice Ardeline, you can make the case, wins. On a 10-point must system. Alice Ardeline probably gets it. The swing round's the second. I don't know, because Ardeline doesn't do anything with her takedown, but strikes are pretty even, and then you give Ardeline the 2 minutes of control. She probably beats Shanna Bannon. That's fine. The UFC didn't want Bannon to lose in the UK. Then she won her last fight against Puha Tomar. Gets dropped in that fight in England earlier this year by Tomar. Ends up finishing it with an armbar from the bottom. Wins the fight again by submission in the second round. I'm really concerned for Shanna Bannon in this fight, though. She struggles with decent wrestlers. Sam Hughes, again, is just that, a decent wrestler. I wonder what Shannon Bannon's going to be in the 13th minute of the fight, and I know what Sam Hughes is going to be in the 13th minute of a fight. A fighter who's still going to be as active and looking to pursue and push at pace like she was in the first minute of the fight. I can't believe I'm putting over Sam Hughes so much in this video, but logistically, I don't see a pathway to victory for the Irish fighter in Bannon here. I just think it's an extremely tough fight. Striking-wise, is she better than Hughes? Probably, but the thing with this fight is, though, right, Sam Hughes is going to throw punches and bunches. She's going to throw combinations, kind of. She'll blitz you. Shannon Bannon's, her shots are too far and few in between, and also, she got dropped by Puha Tumar in her last fight. I gotta take Sam Hughes. Now, don't bet on the fight. We'll have our best bets out for this fight card later in the week. Don't bet on Sam Hughes, who's a minus 300 favorite. That makes no sense. Don't touch that with a 10-inch pole. Not 10-foot pole. Why do I always say? Take Sam Hughes by decision. I'm done with this fight, man. It's just, whatever. No, Sam Hughes will win. I'm pretty sure about that. But don't bet it. It's minus 300 is crazy. Our second fight of the night, a very good second fight. I mean, it's insane this fight's so low on the card. Fakhretdinov is a plus 100 underdog against the minus 120 favorite from Sweden and Andreas Gustafsson. Really good one. Tapology, 57% of voters are going with Gustafsson, 43 are going for the other side, obviously in the Russian, and Fakhretdinov. It's a good fight in the welterweight division. Two guys who are very, very highly skilled. Fakhretdinov is undefeated in the UFC with 5 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. That majority draw back in Brasilia or Rio. I think it was in Brasilia. Back in November of 2023. Andreas Gustafsson, undefeated in the UFC as well. Well, he's 1-0, winning in New Jersey against Chaos Williams by unanimous decision, a fight that a lot of people didn't think he was going to win. Goes out there and finds a way to victory. Goes out there and outstrikes Chaos Williams and out-grapples Chaos Williams as well. So it makes for a stylistically interesting fight because Fakhretdinov, too, he's undefeated. He's 5-0-1 in the UFC. The Carlos Leal fight, and Leal, by the way, coming off of a horrible loss, can I say? The Muslim Salikov loss? I get it. Unk still got it at 41, but if you're Carlos Leal, it's supposed to be the next big thing out of Brazil, and I was high on him too. I drank the Kool-Aid. Can't get knocked out in 40-something seconds to Muslim Salikov. Anyways, Fakhretdinov fights Carlos Leal to a very competitive fight back at UFC 308, a fight that Carlos Leal won. It's one of the worst scorecards you're ever going to watch. They gave the nod to Fakhretdinov instead. I hate it. It's horrible. But it is what it is. He is still technically undefeated. There has just been a lot of holes in the game recently out of Fakhretdinov that makes me a little concerned. As the fight goes on, Fakhretdinov doesn't always get better. Doesn't. Now, that wasn't entirely the case in that last fight, UFC 308, but we saw that against Zaleski dos Santos. We've seen it before. The Gas Tank has kind of the Nicholas Dalby fight too. We have seen Fakhretdinov slow down as the fight has gone on, and even those fights like against Dalby, third round of the fight, he's dead tired, but he's going to be shooting on legs and just trying to hold top positioning just so he can win rounds. And give the guy credit, again, he's still trying to actively pursue a win, but we do see him sucking air sometimes. He gets Andreas Gustafsson here. Gustafsson, who is 12-2 professionally, 1-0 in the UFC, coming off of a win over Chaos Williams by unanimous decision. Again, we did not think Gustafsson was going to win that fight. I had Williams to get the nod. Didn't go his way, right? And there's reasons why I didn't take Gustafsson. There's reasons why I'm still not that high on Andreas Gustafsson, right? He looks good in the Chaos Williams fight. Williams, though, just looks really hesitant to pull the trigger. And as soon as he got taken down, it just changed the fight. Because, I mean, then Gustafsson knew he could go back to the well. Guys, Andreas Gustafsson in the first round against Chaos Williams goes 0 for 2 on his takedown attempts. Okay. It's a very close round. A round that Gustafsson won, but it's a competitive round. Second round, Gustafsson takes down Chaos Williams fairly early. And now he knows he's got it. Like, he can get that takedown. He can go to that well when he needs to. Third round, Andreas Gustafsson, constant pressure, right? Every time Chaos Williams gets back up to his feet, nope. Andreas Gustafsson is dragging him back down to the canvas. Gustafsson goes 5 for 7 on his takedown attempts in just the third round. 8 for 14 as a whole in the fight. 10 minutes of control. My thing, though, with this fight is he's not going to be able to do that to Fakhretdinov. You can say what you want about Fakhretdinov, about how he's been unimpressive on the feet and whatnot, and unimpressive late in fights. He's not getting taken down. He's not. So that just eliminates one part of the game, and a really big part of the game out of Andreas Gustafsson. And I get it, oh, he's been billed as a striker. Sure, he's wrestled a lot, at least under the Zuffa banner, right? And the Pat Pitlick win, and the win over, in his last fight, his UFC debut against Chaos Williams. This is another reason why I wasn't high on Gustafsson going into the UFC. He lost to Jailton Luterbach outside of the UFC in Brave, and then, he gets a shot in the contender. He beats Pat Pitlick, Pat Pitlick was a 35-year-old in the Contender Series who was given another opportunity into the UFC. Obviously, they got him on Dana White's looking for a fight. He comes into the Contender Series and he gets mauled, like we thought. I'm still not high on Gustafsson, man. I'm really not. And I'm looking at this fight with him and Fakhretdinov. I think Fakhretdinov's the one pursuing the takedowns, and I think Fakhretdinov's going to get it. I don't think it's going to be the most entertaining type of fight, but purely when I look at this fight, who's the better wrestler? To me, it's not Fakhretdinov. Striking-wise, yes, Gustafsson is better, but here's the thing, guys. Hanat is not too outmatched on the feed here. He's not. He's not overwhelmed by Andreas Gustafsson. Yeah, there's power strikes coming his way, but Hanat's seen that before. He's fought power, heavy guys. He's fought a Carlos Leal. He's fought a Brian Battle. He'll be okay in this spot. I'm going with the Gladiator out of Russia. I'm going with Hanat Fakhretdinov as an underdog here to beat Andreas Gustafsson. I love the odds, and I think Gustafsson is too unproven to win this fight. Again, we get Hanat Fakhretdinov at plus money, and he's 5-0-1 in the UFC. Gustafsson has had one fight where he looked good, but one fight. I'm taking the actual younger fighter in this bout, Hanat Fakhretdinov, to beat Andreas Gustafsson. I believe he gets it done by unanimous decision. Move on now to our third fight of the night. Let's now go to the middleweight division, up a weight class now, to a matchup between Brad Tavares and Robert Bryczek. I don't know why they put this fight together. I know it's like one hell of a way to start this prediction. I don't get it. Brad Tavares is coming off a victory. He beats Gerald Mearshart, and sure, is beating GM3 in 2025 that impressive? No, it's not. Okay, we just saw GM3 get put out cold in his last bout, like he was supposed to, obviously, against Michal Zolszewski from the Fighting Nerds, who are obviously headlining this card in the main and co-main events of the evening. But, right, that's not the most impressive win in 2025, unfortunately, right? Give credit to where credit is due. Tavares wins. He wins it, though, by decision against Gerald Mearshart. Mearshart gets a takedown in the third round, wins the third round, but fortunately enough for Tavares, he was already able to bank the first 2 rounds with the damage he did on the feet, ultimately propelling him to victory. So Tavares is coming off a victory, and they're going to give him Robert Bryczek, who is 0-1 in the UFC, and his only fight is a loss to Ihor Potieria. What? I get it. Bryczek was great in Octagon. He had won 3 consecutive fights in Octagon before making his way into the UFC, and they were all by first-round knockout. That's amazing. But then you lose to Ihor Potieria? I can't treat you seriously. I can't. I can't treat you seriously as a fighter. Because if you don't know who Ihor Potieria is, he's a guy who went 2-6 in the UFC, with his only wins being a 44-year-old Mauricio Shogun Rua and Robert Bryczek. Knocked out by Nikolai Negamedianu, or Negamedianu Nikolai. Knocked out by Carl Solberg, as expected. Knocked out by Rodolfo Bellato. Submitted in the first round by Michel Pereira. Decision loss to Cesar Almeida. Knocked out in the first round by Marco Tulio. Sure, they gave him killers. A lot of Brazilian killers. But you can't lose that fight. You can't. Bryczek, again, he's in a league of his own of guys who have lost to Ihor Potieria in the UFC. Him and a 40-plus-year-old Shogun. The same Shogun who lost to Vince St. Preux and was so badly concussed, he thought that Bruce Buffer said Shogun when he said "Oh Vince" back in Arizona back in 2022. Yeah, Shogun was washed. Imagine in 2024, Shogun Rua. Just last year. Seriously? Damn, that was just last year? Oh, no, that was when Bryczek fought Potieria. Yeah, that was 2023 when Potieria fought Rua. Anyways, I can't trust Robert Bryczek. I can't. You lost to Ihor Potieria. And in that fight against Ihor Potieria, he gets dropped. And Bryczek was so gun-shy, man. He couldn't pull the trigger. Gun-shy, that's the right word, right? Yeah, he couldn't pull the trigger. Potieria wins every single round. He gets outstruck. Bryczek, he's got his best round. He lands 12 strikes in one round. Can't trust it. I know Tavares hasn't been great, and I know Tavares is kind of, he's a scrappy Hawaiian, right? He's going to get in your face. He'll strike with you. To me, I don't care, how good Bryczek looked in Octagon. If he's going to win, he's going to knock out Tavares. Here's the thing, though. Tavares, he's a vet. He's been around. He's fought good strikers before. I don't think Bryczek's too advanced for him. Sure, Tavares has been knocked out 5 times in the past throughout the course of his career. I just don't think Bryczek's that guy. And, by the way, Robert Bryczek's 35. 35 making your second ever UFC fight. Brad Tavares is 37, and this is walk number 27 in the Octagon for him. I'm taking the American. Give me Brad Tavares to beat Robert Bryczek. I think there's a chance I think Tavares wins probably every single round. Tavares won't shoot. It's not what he does, but I think it's just going to be one of those fights where it's not that entertaining. Tavares gets to Bryczek first. He clinches up with him a little bit. Again, just takes advantage of positions and just beats Bryczek to the punch. I'm going Brad Tavares to win this bout by unanimous decision. He's a pretty sizable favorite. On to our fourth fight of the night. Let's go back to the welterweight division as we've got a matchup here. First of two back-to-back fights in the welterweight division. Sam Patterson takes on Trey Waters. So Sam Patterson, coming off of 3 straight victories in the UFC, wins over a huge win in his last fight against Danny Barlow, like by far the biggest of his career. Prior to that, though, back-to-back wins over both Johan Lainus and Kiefer Crosby. Now, are the last 2 UFC caliber guys? No. I was going to say probably not. They're not. Johan Lainus, not UFC caliber. Kiefer Crosby, we saw in his last fight. Did he get robbed? Kind of by I think it was Mark Goddard. Yeah, kind of. Well, he's just, guy gets illegally kneed in the face, basically knocked out, says, oh, I'm going to continue fighting, so you give him 2 minutes of rest? Come on. He deserved the full 5. Now, in all due respect for the referee, Crosby shouldn't have said, okay, let's start the fight again. That's neither here or there. Sam Patterson, he should have taken the DQ win. Could have got another fight in the UFC and collected another paycheck. Sam Patterson takes on Trey Waters. Trey Waters is undefeated in the UFC, 2-0, and he put on a very good last fight in St. Louis, Missouri against Billy Ray Goff. A tremendous bout that Trey Waters does get the victory for. They're pretty even on strikes, but what Trey Waters does to ultimately win the bout against Billy Ray Goff is just the damage that he does with his strikes. It's way more damaging what Trey Waters is doing compared to what Billy Ray Goff is throwing on the other side. Waters' first fight, a back and forth battle, but more of a, more one-sided than the Goff fight. Trey Waters beats Josh Quinlan in his first ever fight by unanimous decision, at least in the UFC. He got a shot in the contender back in September of 2022. Actually got Von Flewed and lost in the first round to Gabriel Bonfim. It's a competitive fight between Sam Patterson and Trey Waters. Don't get me wrong, right? Like, Sam Patterson has got good stuff. He's got power, obviously, as we saw in his last bout against Danny Barlow. That's tough to do. I like Barlow a lot, right? Barlow's a good fighter who I think has some potential, and I think's got a future. He's going to get Georgian Santos later in the year, and I expect Danny Barlow to win that fight. But Patterson cracks him in the first round. Barlow's never been finished, never lost. That first one in the loss column, it's because of Sam Patterson. Patterson cracks him in the first round. It's a very good win. Patterson beats Kiefer Crosby by submission, beats Johan Lainus by submission, beats Vinicius Sensi on the Contender Series by submission. He's got that ability. He's a good grappler who can strike with you as well. Trey Waters, again, can do it all too. To me, though, the difference is just I think Patterson's grappling is so much better than Waters. On the feet, I do believe it's kind of even because, again, Waters is just going to bring that fight to you. He is a fun fighter. He's going to push the pace. He's going to look to get in your face. He's going to force you to fight him. That's what Trey Waters will do. I think Sam Patterson, though, again, is the more technical striker, the way more efficient striker, and just the all-around sharper striker. And on top of that, there's a clear advantage to me on the ground with Sam Patterson against Trey Waters. And that was something that we were a little bit concerned about with Danny Barlow. Like, okay, how is he going to deal with the grappling of Sam Patterson? Well, Patterson was more than comfortable striking with Barlow to the point where eventually he knocked him out. I'm not telling you he's going to knock out Waters because I think eventually he will go to that grappling. I'm telling you Sam Patterson's winning the fight. I know that. That's where I've been going this entire prediction, okay? I'm still going with it. I'm going with the fighter from the UK, Sam Patterson, to go out there and beat Trey Waters. And I do believe, again, the determining factor in this fight for me is with the grappling. Okay? I think it's competitive enough on the feet. And I believe, again, the game plan out of Sam Patterson is going to be, I'm going to be content striking with Trey Waters up until the point where I feel like I'm in danger and need to go back to my grappling. Because if I can go to my grappling and I can go back to that well successfully, I'm in a really good position to win the fight. So I'm going to take Sam Patterson because, again, that grappling is going to pay huge dividends for him in this bout. I'm going with Sam Patterson to submit Trey the Truth Waters in the second round. Again, I just don't think Waters has that grappling credential and experience to compete with the guy like Patterson, who's a minus 150 favorite. Minus 185 favorite, excuse me. It's down to minus 160 the last I've seen on Tapology. Anyways, give me Sam Patterson. On now to our fifth fight of the night. Let's stay now in the welterweight division as we have got the UFC debut of Axel Sola as he takes on Skeletor. Reese McKee, Sola training out of France, obviously now the first French fighter on this card, taking on Northern Ireland's own in Reese McKee. Don't know why the odds are this close. I don't. On the screen, I have minus 150 for Sola, plus 125 from McKee. Since I made that graphic, Sola has fallen out to a minus 140 favorite. And on the flip side, Reese McKee is now only a plus 110 underdog. Sign me up for Axel Sola here. I don't want to give the prediction away immediately, but I kind of have to here. Axel Sola will beat he will definitely beat Rhys McKee. Rhys McKee has been used as nothing but a punching bag and a stepping stone so far in his UFC career. Remember his first ever UFC fight where his manager went up to him and made a video out of it? Hey, Rhys, you're in the UFC. Congrats, man. And everyone's like, yeah. And, McKee's like, kind of happy, and they tell him, oh, you're fighting Khamzat Chimaev, who just submitted John Phillips 3 days ago in the first round. And then McKee's like, oh. Okay, great. It was the most sad introduction into the UFC, or, signing, I guess, that the UFC's ever had. Because Rhys McKee knew he was going out there to get slaughtered, and he did. He got ground and pounded and TKO'd in the first round in about 3 minutes. He then comes back. He takes on Alex Morono in his second UFC bout, a fight in which Rhys McKee lost his mouthpiece. Somehow the mouthpiece ended up under the octagon like John Jones, and Herb Dean and everyone was looking for it. They eventually find it. They don't even rinse. Oh, they did actually rinse out the mouthpiece. Anyways, McKee loses. He's a punching bag in that fight. Alex Morono beats him up. He goes back to Cage Warriors, wins the Cage Warriors championship, comes back to the UFC, fights Ange Losa, where he looks horrible in the first 2 rounds. Ange Losa's putting it on Rhys McKee. Losa, though, can't keep the cardio. Eventually, again, just completely runs out of gas. Michael Bisping then starts saying, oh, Rhys McKee, he's the Irish zombie. Oh, Korean zombie just retired. Or I think that was before the zombie retirement. I think it was a week before the zombie retirement card. And Michael Bisping goes, ha ha, ha ha, Rhys McKee. That's not a British accent. Rhys McKee, he's the Irish zombie in there, and, he wins the 3rd round, but ultimately loses the fight 2-1. Then fights Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Chitty and Njokuani, loses that fight by split decision over in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and then turns into a victory against Daniel Frunza, where he absolutely dominates Frunza. That guy is not UFC caliber, okay? We got fooled. Knockouts in the regional scene against a guy who's done nothing but lose in the UFC. Won the contender, and the Rhys McKee goes there and knocks him down 3 times in the first round. They have to stop the fight. The doctor has to stop the fight at the end of the first. So McKee's coming off of his first ever UFC win. He's now 1-4 in the promotion. He's not beating a very good prospect in Axel Sola. Axel Sola is the Aries FC lightweight champion, and beyond that, he has defended that championship 4 times. That means something. Aries FC is a very credible promotion. It's by far the best promotion in the country of France. We've seen fighters like the Lazy King come out of Aries FC in the past before. They've had really good fighters out there. It's a really good promotion. Who else has come? Taylor Lapalus. Obviously, Lapalus had fought in major promotions prior to that. Lazy King, though, is their main guy, right? When Aries FC was first getting going, I remember I watched the first ever Aries card, and they were hyping up Lazy King. Aries FC 2, I guess, was technically their first ever card, really. But their 3rd ever card, February 2022, I was watching live when the Lazy King fought in the main event for their lightweight title. Welterweight title. Omar Sy was on that card as well. There's good talent in Aries FC is what I'm trying to get to. And being the Aries FC champion in a market in France, which is so huge now in mixed martial arts because, again, of the emergence of Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, obviously, Nassourdine Imavov, there are big French fighters now. Sport's only getting, larger in that country. And with the legalization as well of MMA in France too, right? That's why Aries has taken off. Being the champion of that promotion is a big deal. Axel Sola is the champion there, and he's defended that championship 4 times. Again, that means something. It does. And Axel Sola has gone in there. He is a 5-round fighter who can go deep in the fight, but will go out there. He can wrestle you. He can strike with you. He's the all-around real deal. What is Rhys McKee? A guy who gets hit too much. A guy who can get taken down. Yes, a Cage Warriors champion, but once he's gotten to the big show, he's been out-controlled. He's been dominated, and sure, that's all the momentum you need in mixed martial arts, 1 victory. And he was able to go out there and knock down Daniel Frunza 3 times in the span of 1 round. That's a big deal. In 5 minutes, 3 knockdowns is huge. I get that. He's lost every other fight he's had in the UFC. We saw Chitty and Njokuani, kind of shut him down completely and limit any offense out of Rhys McKee. I saw Ange Losa dominate him for the first 2 rounds of the fight. And here's the thing. Axel Sola is not going to get tired at the end of the 2 rounds. Sola's a 5-round fighter who can strike with you, can grapple with you. It's a tough fight for Rhys McKee, man. McKee looks so good in the feet against Frunza. He wins performance of the night. Won't do that against a good boxer in Axel Sola. A guy who's going to stay out of the way of damage. Again, we'll try to get you on the ground too. But a guy who, again, is just a very well-polished mixed martial arts fighter. I'm going with the -140 favorite in Axel Sola to beat Rhys McKee. And I believe he's going to get it done by decision. Again, I don't think we see a finish on either side. I think Sola just kind of outclasses him in this one. Sola wins the bout by unanimous decision. We move on now to a heavyweight fight here in the prelims as Ante Delija finally makes his UFC debut, and I'm going to make sure you know what I mean here. Delija finally making his UFC debut on the undercard here against Marcin Tybura, who is 39 years of age. So you might ask, why is it a finally for Ante Delija to finally make the UFC? Has this been a long-awaited debut? Have we been really waiting for this guy to finally get his shot? No, not really. The reason why I say long awaited debut, or finally coming, finally here. He was supposed to fight on Fight Island once upon a time against Ciryl Gane. Supposed to fight on the main card of Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega, UFC Fight Island number 6. Just in the undercard of that card, Ante Delija was booked against Ciryl Gane. He was coming off a KSW victory. We had seen him in PFL once. Fought Marcin Tybura an M1 challenge in 2015. Lost the fight due to leg injury in the first round. Ends up signing with the UFC. He's a plus 450 dog against Ciryl Gane. Fight never happens because of a contract dispute between Ante Delija and the UFC. Ciryl Gane, I believe, stayed on the card. I think. Did Gane stay on that card? No, he didn't. They rebooked him against Junior Dos Santos, and they really attached a rocket ship to the back of Ciryl Gane. Obviously, the rest is history. He's going to be fighting for the World Championship in about a month and a half, which we'll get to that when we get there. It's, Aspinall needs to win. For the betterment of the sport, for the betterment of the heavyweight division, and for the betterment of the UFC, Aspinall needs to win. That's neither here or there. Delija has been in the UFC before. He's never got to fight. He's now getting Marcin Tybura, and guys, I don't know why the odds are this close. I don't know why. I don't know why Ante Delija is a favorite. That might sound harsh. He's not beating Marcin Tybura. He's not. No chance. Delija is a 35-year-old making his UFC debut. And guys, I've watched the career of Ante Delija, like to a T, since legitimately he was booked to fight Ciryl Gane. I have not missed an Ante Delija fight since. I've watched every single one. So he doesn't get to fight against, and trust me, I watch all PFL. So he doesn't get the Ciryl Gane fight, comes into the PFL, immediately gets knocked out by Bruno Capoloza, who eventually wins the season in 2021, but I'll get to that in a second. Gets knocked down in the first fight of 2021, the regular season, in 46 seconds by Bruno Capoloza. Comes back, gets a first-round finish over Chandler Cole to get in the postseason, gets his 6 points. Beats Denis Goltsov in the playoffs. Huge victory and an upset victory at that against Goltsov. Then gets the championship fight against Bruno Capoloza. Loses a 5-round decision at 48-47, I believe, on 2 cards, 49-46 on the other card. Comes back in 2022, beats Matus Sheffield by second-round knockout. Then beats Shelton Graves in a boring decision fight. Goes to the playoffs, beats Hanan Ferreira in the first round, and then beats Matus Sheffield, yes, that same Matus Sheffield, in the championship bout. Comes back in 2023, doesn't have his first fight against Yorgan De Castro because he had to withdraw due to the injury, I believe. Comes back, beats Maurice Green in his first fight of the season, but second for most heavyweights. Doesn't get in the playoffs. Comes back in 2024. First fight, fights Vlatin Moldavsky. Loses by first round knockout. Doesn't come back to make his second bout in 2024. Was booked against Vadim Nemkov at one point. He had to pull out of the fight. They replaced him with Tim Johnson. Nemkov obviously destroyed Johnson and now has signed a contract extension with the PFL, like Dakota Ditcheva. Why are they staying there? And then Ante Delija just knocked out Yorgan De Castro on FNC Fight Promotion, which is Fight Nation Championship over in Slovenia. Okay, here's the thing about Ante Delija, guys. He gets cracked on the feet, and he's not UFC level. At least Marcin Tybura level. And I get it. Oh, Marcin Tybura, he's not high level at all. Oh, he's not. He's better than Delija, though. If you're able to beat Mick Parkin, and if you're able to knock out Jonathan Deniz, you will beat Ante Delija as well. Delia's huge, don't get me wrong. He's 6'5", with a 79-inch reach. At the same time, though, Tybura is 6'3" and a 78-inch reach. Okay? This doesn't really concern me. For as big as Delija is, Tybura is actually going to weigh more in this fight. And I actually think Tybura is going to go back to his roots here. Hear me out. And win a boring Marcin Tybura fight. Oh, man, here it is. The traditional Marcin Tybura, clinch, push you back up against the fence, and hold you there type of fight. Because I don't think Ante Delija will be able to fight that type of fight for 15 minutes. If Tybura can kind of just bully Delija and give him his welcome to the UFC moment and make him fight the style of fight that he wants to fight, yeah, it's not going well for Delija. I'm just going to be honest. It's not, okay? Striking-wise, does Delija have power? Sure. Marcin Tybura doesn't really get knocked out, though. Tom Aspinall knocked him out. And then you got to go back to pre-COVID, the last time Tybura got knocked out, and he's fought power punchers. He's fought, a Tai Tuivasa. He's fought a Jonathan Deniz. He's fought a Mick Parkin. The only guy to knock him out is Tom Aspinall. He went a full 3-round decision with Alexander Volkov. He's not losing Ante Delija, guys. He's not. Tybura will be able to implement his game. It's going to be a striking battle until Tybura decides to switch it up. And Delia's got 3 submission victories. When's the last time he actually pulled one of those off? Back in 2014 against the guy making his UFC debut. Exactly, okay? It's not really there for him. Tybura will wrestle, Tybura will clinch, and Tybura will do just enough with his jab. I'm taking Tybura to win the fight, and I don't think it's that entertaining. If you can beat Mick Parkin, you are certainly beating Ante Delija. I'm going Marcin Tybura by decision. Absolutely love this bet, and I'm sure we're going to see it later on in the week for our UFC best bets as well. It could be Marcin Tybura by unanimous decision. We move on now to our next fight as we go to a matchup here in the light heavyweight division. France's own Umar Sy. He's the second French fighter in this card after Axel Sola. It's Umar Sy versus Brennison Ribeiro here on the undercard as well. Umar Sy is a huge favorite in this bout. He is a minus 390 favorite. Coming back at you for Ribeiro, he's around plus 280 for good reason, right? Umar Sy is legit. Training at a Bulgarian top team, but originally from Paris, France. The guy's 29 years of age, he's 6'4", and he's got an 83-inch reach. For reference, that's a longer reach than both of the heavyweights we just talked about in Marcin Tybura and Ante Delija. And in all fairness, Brennison Ribeiro actually has a longer reach than both those guys as well, but that doesn't fit my agenda, so I'm not going to talk about it. Anyways, Umar Sy has been really good so far in the UFC, except for his last bout where he actually lost to Alonzo Menefield. Did he really lose that fight, though? I don't think so. I thought Sy won the first 2 rounds. I don't know how Menefield won that. I don't remember people being too upset about the decision. People weren't upset by the decision because nothing happened. That's why. Nothing happened, and it is what it is. I thought it was a horrible decision, though. I thought Sy should have won. Go back and rewatch that fight. Tell me Umar Sy doesn't win the first round off of damage alone. He's the only one doing anything. He's pushing the pace. He's the only one actually striking. Second round, Umar Sy gets a takedown and just basically lies on top of Menefield for 5 minutes. For as boring as that is, how do you score that for Menefield? You can't. Third round, Menefield wins in the future. So it should be 2-1 for me for Umar Sy. They gave the nod to the American in Atomic Alonzo Menefield. Okay, Sy now gets to turn around against Brennison Ribeiro, who's so mid, man. He is. I'll give him credit. He fights tough guys. Legitimately. Brennison Ribeiro has fought nothing but really tough opponents, even dating back to the Contender Series, right? He had to fight Bruno Lopez in the Contender, a guy who ended up making his way in the UFC anyways. First fight in the UFC, Mingyang Zhang. And sure, the hype is so down on Mingyang Zhang after he got knocked out in his own home country against Johnny Walker. Well, leg kicked and then knocked out. Anyways, you lose. If you're Brennison Ribeiro, you lose to Mingyang Zhang. Okay. Then you fight Magomed Gaziasulov to a full 15-minute majority decision. You beat Kyle Machado by split decision over in Canada. You then you beat Dayar Nurgoje by second round submission Kimura, even though as a plus 300 dog, can't really put too much into that now out of that win over Dayar, who again has this little twitch thing that he always does this in his fight, which is like, how does that not distract you? I get it. It's a thing that he just does. It's a tick, I think they call it, right? But it's just like, dude, how can you fight if you're going here? Like, I just hurt my eye doing that. Ow. Damn. But like, how does that dude do that in an actual MMA fight? Now I legitimately just hurt my eye. Oh my god, I'm gonna go cross-eye here. Anyways. That actually hurt. Ribeiro then, after beating Dayar, it's a great win, don't get me wrong. Huge underdog against the guy who was just a fraud, let's be honest. I mean, we saw Uran Saltadebiev dominate him over in Canada just last week. I'm actually like seeing double in my eye right now. This is actually crazy. I shouldn't have done that. How does that dude do that when he actually fights? Ribeiro then gets knocked out in the first round by Azamat Murzakanov, who Joe Rogan says is like the greatest fighter of all time, or the greatest guy to not be known. And that's true. Murzakanov's really good. Rogan will definitely cream his pants while, fight companioning the fight with him and Rakic for Murzakanov at UFC 321. Anyways, I digress. Ribeiro, Umar Sy, yeah, he's going to get knocked down the first round. Probably. Yeah. See, that's how Ribeiro loses, though. Look at his 2 losses in the UFC. Ming Yang Zhang, first round knockout. Azamat Murzakanov, first round knockout. It's probably what's going to happen here. Now, has Umar Sy been that finishing monster that we thought he was going to be? No. He's kind of due for that. That's my point. He's so due for just a complete steamrolling of a win. 3 fights so far in the UFC. Tuko Tokos submits him in the first round through a naked choke. Dawoon Jung, unanimous decision victory for Umar Sy. And then the Menefield fight. And Umar Sy has wrestled in every single fight that he's had. But it's right there in this fight with him and Bredison Ribeiro, man. Ribeiro's not a good defensive striker. He's not the best striker in his own right. He throws hard, I'll give him credit, but Umar Sy throws hard as well. That's really all Ribeiro's got, is just really hard attacks, hard strikes. Like, look at the Caio Machado fight, right? Not many punches are landed in that fight. And if you look at the final, tally of strikes in that fight, Caio Machado actually outstrikes Bredison Ribeiro by quite a bit. The Canadian-Brazilian outstrikes Ribeiro 76-49. Ribeiro wins the bout, though, because every shot he's throwing and landing is actually doing damage. Machado's just kind of peppering him up with shots. When Bredison throws, he throws. Umar Sy is going to be able to throw at the same time, though. And I don't love the defensive striking game out of Bredison Ribeiro either. I think the grappling might be there for Umar Sy, but as a whole, he's just the better fighter, in my opinion. He's the way more complete fighter. Umar Sy, again, is huge for the weight class, 6'4" at 205 pounds. Freak of nature, really. I think he's going to be decent. Again, went the full 3 rounds in his last bout against Alonzo Menefield. Did he lose? Yes. But that's a learning curve, right? You lose that fight, it is what it is. It sucks. You don't want to lose it. But ultimately, yeah, for as crazy as it sounds, Alonzo Menefield's been a guy that's been around the top 15 for a couple years at this point. Not the worst loss to have if you're Umar Sy in a fight that a lot of people thought he won. The wrestling will be in the back pocket in this fight with Bredison Ribeiro. I'm hoping he doesn't have to go to it, and I think he can win without it. I'm going with the Frenchman Umar Sy to beat Bredison Ribeiro by first round knockout. Ribeiro, in my opinion, just gets hit too much. And this victory for Sy will send the French fighters now to 2-0 in this card. Him and Axel Sola. As we go on now to our featured prelim and the 3rd French fighter on this card, William Gomis, taking on the former KSW champion and Robert Hachula. I believe it's Hachula. Yes, it is. William Gomis and Hachula here in the featherweight division. Okay. So William Gomis, for the longest time, had the biggest Mickey Mouse run in UFC history. Nah, I hate to say that. That's a little mean. But he did, though. Okay. William Gomis comes into the UFC, fights Jarno Aarons in his first fight. 2 guys making their UFC debut. Gomis wins it by majority decision in one of the worst fights you're going to watch just because there's no damage. It's a wrestling fight for the most part. Gomis is getting takedowns, and he gets a takedown every single round. It's so uneventful and nothing happens. So Gomis gets the nod. My eye is still hurting, by the way, because I was trying to mimic what that guy did. I think legitimately I actually poked my actual eye. God. Gomis then beats Francis Marshall in a horrible fight. He wins by split decision. He gets actually outpositioned in a lot of spots against Marshall does Gomis. Someone that gave the nod to Gomis though, because in all fairness, Marshall does no damage in the fight. So you give the 2nd and 3rd rounds to Gomis, but it's so uneventful. Gomis wins in the apex. Then they book him in France again against Yanis Gamori. Well, there's a reason Yanis Gamori is fighting in PFL Mena right now. There's a reason Yanis Gamori was one of the biggest UFC underdogs in history when he lost to Peyton Talbot. Gamori's not that great, and Gomis couldn't get him out of there until the 3rd round. I'll give him credit. He did get the finish, but it was very uneventful. And what Gomis does, which really just, it annoys me, he doesn't pull the trigger. He doesn't. Strikes are too and far in between. He'll throw, and then he'll just reset. And Gomis will just sit there and just pick his shots. And then, okay, here we go. We're throwing. We're 1, 2, 3, we're throwing. Okay, and then we're going to back up. We're going to wait another 30 seconds. It's just, I get he's trying to conserve his energy. I feel like Gomis could be a lot better if he actually let his hands go. But that's the thing, he let his hands go a little bit in his last fight because he was just trying to get it back in the Hyder Emil fight, right? Hyder Emil was beating him with a punch. Hyder Emil was first in all those exchanges. So Gomis had to kind of just, again, try to chase and try to get back in the fight. Emil, though, wins it by split decision. It's a close bout, but where Emil gets it is the 3rd round. He completely takes over the fight. And again, maybe that's why Gomis doesn't go as hard early in these other fights, is because in that 3rd round against Hyder Emil, Emil saw a lot of success, and is it a close fight? Sure, and could you have easily scored rounds 1 and 2 for William Gomis? Probably could, but they give the nod to Haider Emil, and I'm not against it. Again, I thought it was a very competitive bout. So now William Gomis has to take on the UFC debuting fighter in Robert Ruchala, which I think is a difficult fight, just because there's not much on Ruchala, at least at this high level, right? Fought in KSW before, former KSW champion, went out there, won the featherweight championship not once, but twice, lost it at one point in a competitive fight to, I'm not going to try to say his name, a guy who's still undefeated in KSW, or undefeated at lightweight in KSW, the now a lightweight champion, French fighter, Saint-Denis Pernasse. I don't know why he's not in the UFC, he's only 27. That one doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, Ruchala is a tough fight with him back at KSW 85 in 2023. Competitive. Ruchala, though, is kind of tiring as the fight goes on. It's a 5-round bout, obviously, and it finishes in the 4th. But kind of is wearing down as the fight goes on, and he ends up getting soccer kicked to the body at the end of the 4th round, ultimately leads to the TKO. Now, he was on his way to lose, and he was already breaking anyway, and that soccer kick, soccer body kick they're calling it, was just the icing on the cake. But again, he got outclassed, I believed in that fight. Looked good early, and then just, again, kind of just started to falter as the fight continued. Ruchala then has won back-to-back fights since, defending the championship, or winning back the championship after, I believe, the champion vacated to go to lightweight. Not bad victories. Honestly, it's not. It's just, I worry again with Ruchala. You're going into the UFC. You're fighting now UFC caliber guys. And for as much as William Gomis has just been simply underwhelming in the UFC, he finds ways to win. He does. He's an MMA Factory guy, obviously training with Fernand Lopez over there in Paris. He knows how to win. He knows how to point fight successfully. Not, again, that traditional, that Michael Venom Page style of point fight where he's in and out trying to score points the entire fight. No. Like, William Gomis just knows how to bank rounds. He knows when to wrestle when needed. He knows when to throw when needed. And he knows how to just kind of take control of rounds as well. Yeah, he lost the Haider Emil fight, which sucks. Especially because, Haider Emil undefeated at the time. And now since then has lost to Jose Delgado and got knocked down in 26 seconds against Jose Delgado. But that's neither here or there. I think Gomis rebuilds himself here. It's a perfect spot for him, by the way, at home too in France. I'm not going to pick a Ruchala who we've seen get broken at the end of fights. And I know, again, Gomis, I believe, will be able to be there in the 15th minute and will be very successful in the 3rd round. And I don't know entirely about Ruchala, who you look at his fight again against another high-level guy who should be in the UFC, doesn't look good post the 1st round. I think Gomis does eventually break him. I think Gomis, again, goes the well at the wrestling because I've seen Ruchala, again, beat on the ground too against high-level guys, the few high-level guys he's fought. I'm going to go William Gomis to win the fight by unanimous decision. Again, it's hard to pick against the guy in France. Look at the Joe Anderson Breathe-Through fight. He didn't win that fight. But the judges said he did. Why? Fight is in France. They will give it to the hometown guy. We have to benefit with that a little bit tonight as well. It's a much more winnable fight for Gomis this time around than Breathe-Through was. In all fairness, again, he won the Breathe-Through fight, technically. But I like the bout for William Gomis here. I believe he goes out there and beats Robert Ruchala. I think he gets it done by unanimous decision. As we move on now to the main card opener. This should be way higher up on the card. This should be the featured prelim, but here it is. The feature fight on the entire night. Patricio Pitbull versus Lousseni Keita. Ooh, man. This is good. I don't know why they're doing this, I'll be honest with you. I think I know. I think the UFC wants to establish an outside star. I think they do. They're sure as hell hoping it's Lousseni Keita, the Black Panther from Belgium. They are 100% hoping it is him. Why? Well, he's 11 years younger than Patricio Pitbull, and he's also yet to lose in the UFC. For as much as Pitbull, again, can be a star, and for as great as Pitbull has been throughout his career in Bellator, and I guess in the 2 fights in the UFC, I don't know if I can say he's been great. You just can't market all that well, a 38-year-old who's already lost to Yair Rodriguez. You can market. And sure, Pitbull, former 2-division champion in Bellator. You know who you can market? Lousseni Keita, who's lost 1 fight in his entire career. He was 16-1 and puts people down and knocks them out. A full 25-minute fighter. Legitimately, one of the best fighters outside of the UFC was Lousseni Keita, and now here he is in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I think this fight's going to be really tough for Pitbull. I'm going to compare this to AJ McKee the first time around. Young, up-and-coming fighter. A fighter who is hungry. A fighter originally from Guinea, if I'm not mistaken. Now, obviously, training out of Belgium. But again, a guy who, from West Africa, but a guy who's got crazy power. He can put you out. 16 wins in the past, 10 of them by knockout, 6 of them by decision. It's a guy who's looking to hunt to put your lights out with every single strike that he throws, and he can do it. He's got the power. But it's not like, again, Lucini Keita is a guy where, oh, he's first round or bust. No, again, he can go deeper in the fight, and he can be successful deeper in the fight as well. He's a guy, again, who can get finishes in the third round, can get finishes in the second, and obviously it's only a 15-minute bout. I think it looks like the AJ McKee fight. Pitbull early's looking to swing with Keita and just gets shocked. Well, gets shocked and just gets tagged. And obviously AJ McKee followed that up with a guillotine choke and ended up, defeating Pitbull with the standing guillotine back in Inglewood, California, arguably the greatest Bellator moment of all time. And then it all went crashing down for AJ McKee since. I know he's coming off a win, but he just never really cashed in on that star power that we thought he was going to cash in on. And primarily that's because he couldn't win the Pitbull fight, the rematch. And he was way too overzealous going in to that second Pitbull fight. But that's neither here or there, right? Lucini Keita is a great shot to put away Patricio Pitbull. A Pitbull who has not looked his best in the UFC. I get he's coming off a win over Dan Ige, a fight where, he had to mix it up, look to wrestle a little bit, but just beat Ige to the spot a lot. Won the first 2 rounds and banked those first 2, so you had to give him the 2-1, with Ige only winning the third. And obviously Pitbull's best round in that fight was by far the second round against Dan Ige. You can just tell, though, this is not prime Pitbull anymore, and obviously it's not. He's 38. It's not prime Patricio Pitbull. They threw him into the Wolves immediately against Yair, right? Because if he was able to beat Yair, they were going to give him Volk. They were. They were going to do Bellator's greatest fighter ever against the UFC's greatest featherweight, or just the greatest featherweight of all time, and we were going to figure out who the best in the world was. Well, he loses to Yair Rodriguez, and that has fueled the Yair Rodriguez potential championship campaign since, which, do not get me started. You can tell he's not the same guy. You can tell he's not as quick as he used to be. He got dropped by Yair. Who's to say he's not going to get dropped by Lucini Keita as well? Now, the grappling advantage is Patricio Pitbull's. Do not get me wrong. If Pitbull didn't grapple against Yair Rodriguez, he's not grappling against Lucini Keita. He's just not. Because the fight to go to the grappling was undoubtedly Yair. We've seen the holes in the game of Yair Rodriguez grappling-wise time in and time out. That was the opportunity to do it, and he did not. He's not going to do it against Lucini Keita. This is fun. I think Lucini Keita is going to be really good, and I think, again, if he comes into the UFC and knocks out Patricio Pitbull in his first fight, sky's the limit. I'm so serious. Sky's the limit. They're going to continue to book this guy in big profile fights, and there's a reason, again, they did this immediately with him and Patricio Pitbull. Because they know if he can beat Pitbull and be the second guy ever to knock out Patricio Pitbull, only big things are ahead. And by the way, one of Pitbull's knockout losses is an injury. I'm going to Lucini Keita. I love the work he's able to do. Again, he'll dig body if needed, and he will throw bombs on the feet as well. And he's a guy, again, who can conserve that energy and still be able to throw those knockout blows in the second and the third round. Oh, by the way, Patricio Pitbull just fought 2 months ago, which that will be a factor later in the video as well. Not as big of a factor here, but I just don't love it for Pitbull. Short turnaround. You didn't take too many shots in the Danny Ige fight, but now you got to take on a guy, again, who's looking to whack your head off. I don't like it. And also, you're taking the fight on short notice against Keita. Keita's known that he's going to be signed to the UFC. He's just been waiting on an opponent. And short notice-wise, Pitbull takes it. Guys, there's less puzzles for Keita to solve for Patricio Pitbull, for a 38-year-old Pitbull, than there is for a 38-year-old Pitbull trying to solve puzzles for the 27-year-old Lucini Keita. I'm going with Keita, who's got all the momentum, who's the reigning Octagon featherweight champion. He will go out there and beat Patricio Pitbull, and he will do it in the first round by knockout. We go on now to our next fight on the main card in the lightweight division. Ziam represents the 4th French fighter on the card. I have the Frenchman 3-0 already on this one. Guess they couldn't get Manon Fior for this card. It's another French fighter that they're missing, but I guess she just fought a couple months ago. Anyways, Ziam versus Caio Fernandes on the main card. Is this crazy to say I think this fight's kind of beneath Ziam? I don't think that's crazy to say that. I don't think it is. Guys, Ziam should be fighting really close to the top 15. No disrespect, not Caio Fernandes. Now, I don't know how much you want to put into the into the Tapology's lightweight rankings. Like, I don't think Ziam's ranked in the UFC. I'll check that right now. He's got to be right there, okay? And I will talk about Ziam real quick, okay? Ziam's put together a run, okay? Was never the highest in the guy when he first came to the UFC. Well, right away he lost to Don Madge, right? He was, I believe, plus 160 dog in his first ever UFC fight against Don match. Comes back, wins back-to-back bouts against Jamie Mullarkey and Luigi Venturini. Okay, well, Venturini was never the best guy, and Jamie Mullarkey, at the time we didn't know it, but not the best fighter either. Okay, Ziam is then booked in the UFC Apex against Terrence McKinney. He gets choked out in 2 minutes by Terrence McKinney. Really? Okay. I don't know. Looking back on it, not a good loss at all. Anyways, Ziam comes back, and after you lose to McKinney, it's like, all right, here's another one of these. This is just the reputation McKinney gets. He beats a lot of scrubs usually. He just does, like the Mike Breedens of the world. And we didn't know again at the time Ziam was going to turn into this. But you're thinking, okay, this guy just got finished in the first round by Terrence McKinney. He got subbed by Terrence McKinney. What does he have left to offer? Well, beats Michael Figlak by unanimous decision. Beats Jai Herbert by unanimous decision. Beats Claudio Puelles by split decision, who's a tough puzzle to crack. Beats tough problem to solve. Knocks out Matt Frivola last year in France. That's big time. And I think the even bigger win, which I think, he was a dog, beats Mike Davis. That's difficult to do. Goes out there and beats Mike Davis. Not the best fight, but Ziam has to wrestle. And he does it every single round. Damage-wise, not a big fight, but he out-wrestles Fair Ziam in every single minute of that fight, at least every single minute that there is wrestling. Fair Ziam is, for the most part, wrestling Mike Davis. And sure, there are moments where Davis reverses it. There's moments of success for Mike Davis. My point being, Fair Ziam wins all 3 rounds in that fight from all 3 judges. And for as great of a fight as Mike Davis put up and tried to remain competitive with Ziam, Ziam ultimately comes out on top. So good on him for that. So again, going back to my point about the UFC's Tapology's lightweight rankings. I don't know how much you want to put into that. Fair Ziam, though, is ranked 23rd. He should be higher. The loss to McKinney still holds him down because it's been in his last 6. But he's behind Chase Hooper on Tapology's rankings. He's behind Jared Flash Gordon. He should probably be higher than those guys. Nasrat Haqparast, I don't know. He's lower than, again, Gordon and Hooper, which kind of just stands out. That's okay. Where right now is Caio Fernandes on these rankings? I want to say 50. I can't find him right now. Yeah, 45, excuse me. Behind Joaquim Silva and above Claudio Puelles. Now, obviously, these rankings are not fully accurate. Like, they got Chris Duncan ranked at 42nd. I know he's fought lightweight. So actually, I don't know why he's there, which makes no sense. Why would he be on there? That's weird because, again, I guess technically at featherweight, he'd be 42nd best, but, like, if you put him in an octagon with Terrence McKinney, I wonder how that's going to go down, right? Anyways. I don't know why the hell I was thinking this at 45. That's my apologies. So, why is Duncan at 42 then? What? Okay, so, again, maybe you don't want to put much in Tapology's rankings. The point I was making is Caio Fernandes is not on the level of Fair Ziam. That was a very unnecessary little tangent I went on. But that's my point here. He is not on the level of Fair Ziam at all. Yeah, why is Chris Duncan ranked below Terrence McKinney on the Tapology rankings? Are we serious? Are we so serious with this? Again, I don't know why I thought I was at 145 for a little bit. I think Chase Hooper just threw me off. I know he's been fighting at 155 for a couple of years now. I still sometimes think of, Hooper as 45. Anyways, yeah, that makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely no sense. Ziam will beat Caio Fernandes, and here's how. Okay, we know what Caio Fernandes is, right? Brazilian kickboxer. He can wrestle, as he wrestled Guram Kutateladze a little bit. What a disappointment, unfortunately, Guram has been. After beating Mateus Gamrot in his first fight, in a fight that everyone thought he didn't win, and even Guram didn't think he won. He goes from beating Mateus Gamrot in his first fight to losing to Elvis Brenner and getting knocked out losing a decision to Guram Kutateladze, losing to Caio Fernandes. Caio Fernandes dominates Guram Kutateladze. Guram's not able to get any damage. Fernandes, significant strike tally-wise, outstrikes Guram 79-29. Knocks down Guram twice in that fight. Takes him down in that fight as well, but ultimately, right, the takedowns aren't huge. The knockdowns are more of a factor in that fight. The reason I'm taking Fair Ziam here is because of the wrestling, okay? It's that simple. Look at Caio Fernandes' first fight in the UFC. It was legitimately, and the announcers go to it, they talk about it, and that's how we approached it at the beginning of the week. Kickboxer versus grappler. Kickboxer versus wrestler is a more appropriate way to put that. Because that's what Mark DeCasey became later in his UFC run, and still is kind of trying to do, obviously. Went to the PFL, got knocked out by Fakhretdinov. That's neither here or there. Okay. That's all that fight is, though. Cal Fernandes is the kickboxer. Mark DeCasey's the wrestler. What happens? Mark DeCasey takes down Cal Fernandes and holds him down. The one round in that fight that was kind of held in defeat, one judge gave it to Cal Fernandes. You probably should give it to the Bone Crusher and Mark DeCasey. My point being, though, that is difficult for Cal Fernandes to stop. Just a pure wrestling attack. Ziam can strike with you, sure. He can. Why strike when you can, I don't want to say easily, but when the best possible pathway to victory for you is wrestling? To me, it's a fairly easy pick. I know what Cal Fernandes brings. He is a long, I guess he's lanky for his height. He's 5'9", but he has a very large reach for 5'9". Like, for comparison, Ziam's 6'1", 75-inch reach. Cal Fernandes is 5'9", 73-inch reach from Nova and Yao, right? Like, that does mean something. Ziam should have no trouble here. He shouldn't. Wrestling should be huge, and he should be able to take this fight over on the ground. Give me the smile killer. France's own Ziam to win the fight, sending now the French fighters to 4-0 on this card. We'll see if that continues. More French fighters coming up, but not here, because we move to the light heavyweight division. Modestus Bukauskas takes on Paul, I was going to say Scotland's, Paul Craig. Okay, it's another Paul Craig fight. So, Paul Craig has not won a fight since, what, November of 2023? Has it been that long since he's won a fight? I will get to his last fight in a few moments here. I think I need to confirm. It was the win over Muniz, right? Yeah, it was. And that weird, was that, did that get pushed to the main event? No, that was on my apologies. That was on Aspinall, versus Tybura. Anyways, Paul Craig had a main event against Brennan Allen. That was a main event, which was weird. They put him in a main event in the Apex. He lost by submission, obviously. Anyways, Paul Craig goes out there against Andre Muniz and looks good, right? Looks good, dominates the fight, TKOs him in the second round after getting the fight on the mat. It's a very impressive win, right? Because Andre Muniz, has always been built as a great jiu-jitsu guy, a guy who's going to really attack off his back, can threaten you at all times. Okay. Since then, though, for Paul Craig, my goodness, has it been downhill. And even prior to the Muniz fight, right? Lose to Volkan Oezdemir, lose the decision, gets dominated, can't take the fight down. I remember that was when Volkan was at a low point. Like, Oezdemir was not winning fights at all. We got Oezdemir at plus money for that bout, if I'm not mistaken, because Paul Craig was coming off a huge win over Nikita Krylov, and Jamal Hill prior to that. That's what a run. Hill and Nikita Krylov in back-to-back bouts. He broke Jamal Hill's arm as a fight where Jamal Hill's arm was just flopping around like crazy. And then he submits Nikita Krylov after basically almost getting finished. He throws up a triangle choke and submits the Ukrainian, Russian, and Krylov. Okay, Craig loses to Oezdemir, loses to Walker, pulls off a huge victory over Andrea Muniz, and then gets a main event against Brendan Allen, loses and gets subbed, gets Caio Borralho, gets knocked out against Caio Borralho in the first round at UFC 301 in Brazil, then gets Bo Nickel in a very boring fight. Nickel, though, does enough and outstrikes Paul Craig, which is not what we thought we were going to see. We thought we were going to see a stylistically entertaining matchup. Great wrestler, one of the greatest college wrestlers of all time versus, a jiu-jitsu dude. And Nickel just strikes, but he wins. Now, we've got into it. Paul Craig's last fight, contract on the line, just like it is tonight or on Saturday. He fights Adolfo Bellato in Atlanta, Georgia. Paul Craig's winning the first round. Bellato's a huge favorite. Paul Craig's winning the first, all right? On the feet, he's winning it the first. Bellato gets a takedown with like a minute left. He gets a takedown. At the end of the round, Bellato stands up. Paul Craig throws an up kick, and sure, Bellato's knee was on the ground. It was, okay. But Bellato gets kicked. He goes, let's pretend like this is his foot. Gets kicked, boom, very, very softly, and looks at the ref and goes, what? And then goes, oh, I'm knocked out. Hilarious. Not gonna lie. Like, legitimately, one of the funniest things I've ever watched in a UFC octagon. Like, you want to joke about, Aljamain's, an Oscar nominee. No. Rodolfo Bellato. Well, he's a shitty actor if he was obviously trying to act. Hilarious, though. He goes fake knocked out after he complains to the ref, goes, ref, what? Oh, I'm knocked out. Like, shout out to, didn't Luana Pinheiro do this once upon a time? against Randa Marcos. I believe she did too. Where Luana Pinheiro gets up kicked by Randa Marcos illegally, breaks her fall, looks at the ref like what, and then as she gets to the ground, she goes stiff as a board. It's just Oscar nominations here out of these guys. Anyways, Bellato, the funniest part about all this, by the way, he gets fake knocked out, right, by Paul Craig. And he's down. Referee looks at him, and Bellato goes, what? And then he tries to start wrestling the referee, Kevin McDonald. Hilarious stuff. The main takeaway I get from that fight, though, is not, oh, Paul Craig looked so good against Rodolfo Bellato. He didn't. I don't know why Bellato tried to do that. I think he was trying to get a free DQ win. Okay, great. Paul Craig couldn't take Bellato down, though. And as soon as Bellato wanted the takedown, obviously Paul Craig was more than willing to give it to him. Paul Craig goes 0 for 6 on his takedowns in that fight. And that's what Paul Craig needs to win fights. Especially against a guy like Modestas Bukauskas. Because, guys, what's going to happen when Paul Craig can't take down Modestas Bukauskas? Getting knocked out cold. Hate to say it. Like, that's what will happen. Almost guarantee you it. Paul Craig can't take down Modestas Bukauskas. He's getting put on his back. Well, he's just going to get knocked down on his back and knocked out. It's just what's going to happen. Bukauskas has been putting together quite a bit of a run since his return to the UFC. Got cut after losing to Khalil Roundtree via oblique kick. Goes to Cage Warriors, wins 2 fights, wins the Cage Warriors championship. Comes back, beats Tyson Pedro by decision. Beats Zach Panga by decision. Loses to Vitor Petrino by knockout, but that's when Petrino is going through his run. Submits Marcin Prachnio. Knocks out Rafael Kurt Keita, who might be the worst UFC fighter of all time. And then beats Ion Cutelaba by split decision. Close fight, but wins. He's knocking out Paul Craig in the first. He's got the striking to do so. Bukauskas has got decent enough wrestling defense, man. Last guy to take him down was Tyson Pedro. That's meaningful. Oh, it is. It's meaningful. Paul Craig's never been the best at takedowns. He's one of the few guys who legitimately will pull guard. Like, I watched him pull guard against a old Shogun Hua. It's just what he does. I think Bukauskas is good enough in spots. He does have submission victories. Like, he submitted Marcin Prachnio. I'm not saying he's going to submit Paul Craig, but he'll be good enough to stay out of spots where, okay, Craig's going to try to trap him by pulling guard and making him make a mistake. Nah, it's just not going to happen. Bukauskas will stuff that. Bukauskas will keep up the fight on the feet. And eventually, yes, he will knock out Paul Craig. I'm going Modestas Bukauskas first round knockout. Unfortunately for Paul Craig, I don't think he's UFC level anymore, and I just believe Lithuania's own and Bukauskas is better. It's going to be Modestas Bukauskas to beat Paul Craig in the first round by knockout. Going on to our feature bout, we've got Belgium's own in the Zulu Warrior, Balaji Oki, taking on the Welsh fighter in Mason Jones in the lightweight division. A very fun one. And I'm glad these two are getting the spotlight of being the feature fight on this card. I'm really excited for this one, right? This should be an all-action type of fight. The slight favorite right now is Mason Jones at about minus 170-ish, minus 160-ish range, coming back at you for the Zulu Warrior and Oki, anywhere from plus 120 to plus 130. Okay, that's great. Love the matchmaking here. Two younger guys, Oki 29, Mason Jones 30. Okay, these guys are a little older than I thought they were. But two guys who are right now, climbing the way up their ranks, and the winner of this fight should be in a great position to take on a very good UFC lightweight very shortly. Mason Jones in his second stint in the UFC after having to go the Modestas Bukauskas route, right? And we've seen instead of a lot of guys have to go back to Cage Warriors, win fights, and come back. Well, Mason Jones, right? First stint in the UFC is so difficult. And they made him fight so many tough guys. Mike Davis goes out there and loses the decision. Was on his way to beating Alan Patrick. Patrick, looking for a way out, quits because of an eye poke. Unfortunately for Mason Jones, since you technically did eye poke the guy, even though you're winning and dominating, it has to be a no contest. Mason Jones then beats David Onama, loses to Ludovic Klein. They say, yeah, you lose to Mike Davis on a random Wednesday card, and you lose to Ludovic Klein. That's enough. We don't want to see you anymore, but we still employ crappy fighters like, who's going to catch a stray right now? Who's going to catch a stray? Younessi Duben. I'm sorry, when I was thinking, Marnik Mann got a UFC contract. We got to cut Mason Jones after losing to Ludovic Klein. Okay, Jones comes back in Cage Warriors, wins 4 straight fights, and they reward him. They give him Jeremy Stephens, and Jeremy Stephens' hometown is UFC retirement fight, because Stephens is back in bare knuckles since he's fighting Mike Perry next, which I think he'll lose, have to. Apparently Connor's going to fight the winner. That's a joke, obviously. I mean, they say it's going to happen. Anyways, Mason Jones beats Jeremy Stephens in his return fight. I mean, that's the launching point that you needed to have of your Mason Jones, your re-entry in the UFC. Basically, it was a hometown fight for Jeremy Stephens in Des Moines, Iowa. UFC retirement fight for him, and Mason Jones dominates the fight, outstrikes Jeremy Stephens, beats him to the punch, and takes down Jeremy Stephens all in that fight to win a unanimous decision. Flip side, Balaji Oki comes into this one coming off of a win over Michael Acewell, winning the fight by unanimous decision in a very fun back-and-forth fight in the UFC Apex. Oki wins the fight 2 rounds to 1, winning the first and second rounds in that one. A much-needed victory after getting submitted by Chris Duncan the fight prior to that. First fight in the UFC for Oki was kind of disappointing against Timmy Kwamba. Wins, but not all that convincingly. And that's my thing in this one here. Okay. I don't think we see much grappling. I don't think we do. I think we see a striking fight. And in a striking fight, I believe Mason Jones is better. And this is why I don't think we see much wrestling. Like, I think Oki's more than capable on the ground. I think he is. I think Mason Jones is very capable on the ground, too. I think in a fight like this, main card, feature fight in Paris, in a sold-out Accor Arena in Paris, France. You know that crowd's always crazy. Like, legitimately, the French crowd is maybe the best one the UFC gets on a year-to-year basis. I mean, they are always excited and, pumping up the fighters and making the event truly feel special. That's not glaze, it's just the truth. I think both these guys are going to be looking for knockouts. Both these guys are going to be looking to swing on the feet. They want to trade. They want to provide that all-action type fight. And for our guy who we're picking, Mason Jones from Wales, the pathway to wrestling is there. Because I believe, yes, he's a better grappler than Balaji Oki. So if we need to absolutely go there, again, it's talking like I'm in the Mason Jones camp, but if Jones needs to go there, the wrestling will be in his back pocket. However, I believe Mason Jones will be able to hit first. I believe he's going to be able to land first against Balaji Oki. And with all that being said, I believe the 30-year-old Mason Jones continues his so far so great second UFC run, just like Modestas Bukauskas. I think Mason Jones picks up the victory here against Balaji Oki by unanimous decision. I think he gets it done. I think, again, we could see a finish late in the bout. I think Mason Jones is more well-equipped to win a hard 15-minute fight. And I know Balaji Oki just fought a very tough 15-minute fight in his last fight, too. Michael Acewell's a good fighter. He's not on the level of Mason Jones. Mason Jones' 2 losses ever are short notice to Mike Davis and Ludovic Klein in his first in the UFC. He's so much better now. All day long, give me Mason Jones to beat Balaji Oki by unanimous decision. Let's move on now to the co-main event in the evening. We start the first of 2. Fighting Nerds versus France. Or we can just go Brazil versus France. I don't know. Fighting Nerds versus France sounds a little bit cooler. Anyways. Benoit Saint-Denis in the co-main event takes on Mauricio Ruffy. I'm surprised and very surprised this is not Joel Alvarez. I thought that was the fight. Just because this was booked already, right? Fight was booked back at UFC 315, main card. I thought it was a horrible fight for Benoit Saint-Denis. And for Benoit, regardless of what happens here, like, he's not going to get cut, obviously. If he had lost to Joel Alvarez and lost his next fight, again, probably wouldn't be getting Ruffy, he'd be done in the UFC. Probably. It's 4 straight losses. The win over Kyle Propolek kept him in the promotion. At least bought him 2 more fights. Okay. Propolek, obviously, former UFC name. They got him because, he's Canadian. Let's bring him in. Yeah. Benoit was a minus 1,600 favorite and did exactly that to him. Submitted him in the second round. Why is Propolek fighting Drew Dober next? That's actually happening? Well, it's in Canada. Why? They really want to get Dober a victory, don't they? I mean, I guess so. He's lost quite a bit recently. He's lost 3 in a row. That's crazy, though. That's just... good for Dober. He gets a victory. Anyways, Propolek kill shot loses to Benoit Saint-Denis by submission in the second round. So Saint-Denis is still around, but I don't want to be too critical. He didn't look bad in the fight. He didn't. It's just like, okay, dude, you beat Kyle Propolek. In all fairness to him, though, his 2 losses are Renato Moicano and Dustin Poirier. He was a huge favorite to beat Dustin. I didn't understand it at the time, didn't understand it when the fight was happening, still don't understand it now. Why Benoit Saint-Denis was such a big favorite over Dustin Poirier. Poirier got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. Oh no, Gaethje's about to fight for the World Championship in December in 2025. And yet, let's make Benoit the favorite because he knocked out Matt Frivola, a minus 250 favorite, minus 260 favorite. One of the worst lines in UFC history. Shout out to the Diamond. I know he's retired. Thank you for all you did, Dustin. That might be the favorite moment of mine for the Dustin Poirier career. I know he's got some great moments, winning the interim title, beating Conor. When he cashed me that Benoit Saint-Denis fight, I'll be forever grateful for Dustin Poirier. Anyways, Benoit gets Mauricio Ruffy. Undefeated in the UFC. 12-1, only professional loss to Manuel Sosa back in 2019. The same Manuel Sosa who just won his UFC contract by TKOing Christian Perez after he was down 2-0 last week on Tuesday. Mauricio Ruffy's really good. Since the Sosa loss, he's come back and won 7 consecutive fights. And in the UFC, he's 3-0. On top of that, a Contender Series victory over a really good fighter, Raymond Magomed Daliev. Very good fighter over there, former One Championship fighter, former Eagle FC fighter who has a win over Impact Sangana. Yeah, Mauricio Ruffy TKO'd him in the 3rd round and broke him through the course of 15 minutes. Comes back into the UFC, knocks out Jamie Mullarkey with a flying knee in his first fight. Then beats James Law on top, dominates in a very good fight. And then knocks out King Green, Bobby Green, with a spinning heel kick. One of the nastier knockouts you're ever going to watch. Early in the fight, 2 minutes in. Catches him over the top of that. Boom. Boom. Spinning heel kick. Brutal stuff. Ruffy's so fun, man. He is. He throws so much stuff. He throws so many spinning attacks. He hits like a truck, especially again at 155 pounds. And if everything goes the way we think it's going to go, all action between Mauricio Ruffy and Benoit Saint-Denis. Because you know, again, Benoit Saint-Denis, the god of war, can just sometimes go into war mode, put pedal to the metal, and look to put you out as well. It has all the makings of being really fun. That being said, I'm going Mauricio Ruffy by first round knockout. Ooh, I'm buying in on the Fighting Nerds. I am. Now I'll go second. Give me another round here. This is going to be France's first loss. They're going to go to 4-1 after Benoit loses again. By the way, again, last time Benoit fought in France, main event, Renato Moicano broke him. Okay? Yes, Benoit was getting better as the fight went on, and I had to get stopped because his eye was all shut. Well, that's because Moicano was punching him in the face too much. Okay? Got outclassed by Moicano in that bout. Moicano gets him down in the first, dominates, it is what it is, right? Dustin Poirier knocked out Benoit Saint-Denis in the second. I'm not telling you Mauricio Ruffy's Dustin Poirier. And they're two different fighters, right? Dustin, everything in tight for the most part, at least, end of career Dustin. He's going to throw a lot of hooks. He's going to throw some overhands and obviously pulling for the gilly. Mauricio Ruffy staying on the outside. He'll use his kicks. He will throw hooks, obviously, but it's more extended hooking range. It's a different style, obviously. But Mauricio Ruffy throws hard. And when he spins, obviously, you'll look to spin the entire fight. But when he's going to throw and spin, try to land something like that, when it lands, it is effective and it puts you down. Look at the Bobby Green fight. I'm not telling you he's going to highlight reel knockout Benoit, but I believe Mauricio Ruffy is going to be in Benoit's face. I believe he's going to be landing, and he's going to be landing effectively. And eventually, everything in this fight that Mauricio Ruffy will throw is setting up for the knockout. Everything's setting up for the knockout. And everything is setting up for that one big shot Mauricio Ruffy is kind of sitting on and waiting on and not relying, but knowing that he has in his back pocket, and eventually, okay, I can go for this, and I can put this guy out. I think in this fight, he breaks Benoit Saint-Denis, and eventually, yes, he will get the knockout. I'm going Mauricio Ruffy to knock out Benoit Saint-Denis in the second round. I'm not impressed with Benoit. I'm not. Yes, his jiu-jitsu is really good. We haven't seen Mauricio Ruffy really tested in that regard yet. 100% takedown defense rate so far in the UFC. In all fairness, though, hasn't really been tested too much. James Lontop tried to take him down 6 times. It's James Lontop. It will be tested here against Benoit. And I kind of wish this fight was 5 rounds. I don't know if we're going to need it. But I think as long as Ruffy's able to keep the fight standing, and again, he trains in Brazil. Fighting Nerds, they have a lot of good jiu-jitsu players, a lot of good grapplers, a lot of good wrestlers over there. He's definitely trained with guys who, again, are on the level of wrestling and grappling as Benoit Saint-Denis. I don't believe he's in any danger. And striking-wise, I firmly believe he's a better striker than the French Benoit. Give me Mauricio Ruffy from the Fighting Nerds, second round TKO victory over Benoit Saint-Denis. On now to our main event in the middleweight division. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Winner of this fight may be next in line for Khamzat Chimaev. Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. I have a weird feeling, though, they're going to give it to the winner of Fernandes and Reinier de Ridder. None of these guys are big pay-per-view draws. It's just, I feel like Hernandez and de Ridder are a little bit higher, though. I don't know, especially if it's de Ridder. They really want to do de Ridder and Khamzat. Anyways, we'll see. RDR, DDP. They're both going to fight Hamzat. I don't know. Anyways, Imavov, Borralho in the main event. I'm going to lead with this because this is going to ultimately, and I can talk about the fights, and I will, of these guys in the past. I'm going to lead with this because I do believe actually it's the most important. Caio Borralho just cut weight 3 weeks ago. Not, 5 weeks before the fight, not 6 weeks before the fight, 3 weeks before you're fighting the biggest fight of your life. And sure, I don't blame Borralho for taking the backup spot in the Imavov bout, or sorry, before the Imavov bout, obviously for DDP Hamzat. I don't blame him for doing that. Did Tony Ferguson not show us anything? You're not meant to cut weight 2 or 3 weeks before you fight in a cage fight against another human being who is looking to end you in there. Just not supposed to do that. Do I think it's the biggest factor? No, but I think it is a factor. It just happened. What is Borralho going to be 3 weeks after just cutting down to 185? Not 186. No. You had to cut the extra weight to be the official backup. I don't think it's the worst cut for Borralho, but I know it's not, again, I'm just going to cut for a week and I'll be fine type of deal. I believe Borralho has to stay around in weight, for 4 weeks now. I just don't love it. Don't love it at all. I even without this in mind, I thought Imavov's always going to beat Borralho. And that's why I'm so shocked at the odds. Guys, Imavov's at home. He's in France, and he's an underdog. I believe this is a combination of a couple things. Well, no, it's the one thing. It's the one thing and one thing only. It's because Borralho's fighting nerds. And he's got an opportunity to be the first ever fighting nerds fighter to get a shot at the championship. This is why, by the way, the UFC has not said, okay, winner of this fight is undoubtedly fighting Hamzat Chimaev. They're not billing it like that. They're not promoting it like that. The reason why is undoubtedly because if Nassourdine Imavov wins, they don't want to give him a title shot. They don't. I know he's beat out Adesanya. Imavov's got no name. If Borralho wins, you know he's going to get Hamzat Chimaev. Fighting nerds versus Chechnya. Yeah. Obviously, they're going to do that, right? That feels like a no-brainer to me, as that's the next fight. Fighting nerds have got a name. They've been had a name. That would be up next. I don't think Borralho wins. So I don't understand why the odds are like this. Again, I believe that is a product of the hype of the fighting nerds. And hell, I just picked Mauricio Ruffy to knock out Benoit Saint-Denis, but that's because he is a better striker. That's because he sets up his strike better. That's because Benoit's striking defense, and I didn't say this in my prediction, I probably should have. Benoit's striking defense is not what you think it is. He gets hit way too much. Moicano hit him too much. Dustin hit him too much. Propolek didn't really hit him too well, but Benoit gets hit too easily. Okay, so there's reasons why I took Mauricio Ruffy to beat Benoit Saint-Denis. That's not because, fighting nerds, big deal. No. There's actual reasoning behind that. Caio Borralho is not beating Nassourdine Imavov, and I feel pretty confident that he won't. Who takes down Nassourdine Imavov? Don't forget, this is a guy, Nassourdine Imavov, born in Dagestan, Russia, moved to France as a child. Or, in his child years. I don't know. He's like Abus Magomedov. Abus Magomedov, born in Dagestan, moved to Dusseldorf, Germany. So he's gotten to learn, again, Dagestani wrestling growing up and German kickboxing as he's evolved and as he's gotten older. Same can be said about Nassourdine Imavov. He's not a full Dagestani wrestler, obviously. Has it in his back pocket. Can use it when he needs to, when he's in danger, and when, guys try to take him down. I'm going to stuff those takedowns because I know what I'm doing. I've got Sambo experience. It makes it really difficult on fighters, man. Caio Borralho, his striking's evolved. It has. It's really gotten better. Should have knocked out Jared Cannonier. Don't know how that fight didn't get stopped. Knocks out Paul Craig. Puts down Abus Magomedov and beats Abus Magomedov at his own game back in Brazil in 2023. You're not knocking out Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov's got good striking. He just knocked out Israel Adesanya. He dominated against Roman Dolidze, but he dominated Roman Dolidze on the feet for 25 minutes. Gave that man a tutorial in how to fight in 25 minutes. Put it on the dude. You're telling me that Borralho can outstrike this guy who just knocked out Adesanya? Grappling-wise, I know Borralho's good. How about Nassourdine Imavov, who's got an 80% takedown defense rate in the UFC and has not been taken down since, I guess Brendan Allen took him down once. But Brendan Allen went 1 for 10 on his takedowns against Imavov. Imavov was able to flip positioning at times and really find ways to control the fight in his own right. I know Allen won a round in that. It was the first where he took Imavov down. And sure, I believe Borralho's going to have rounds where he will take down, or a round where he will take down Imavov. That's not sustainable for 25 minutes for me. And yeah, okay, Borralho, again, yes, your grappling, your wrestling makes your striking better. Sure, obviously, look at the Jared Cannonier fight. Cannonier's worried about the wrestling. So again, Borralho pops him in that 5th round, knocks him down, should have knocked him out. Don't know how the fight didn't get stopped. But Imavov's got good striking, and he's got good defensive wrestling. And yeah, okay, Allen took him down, but what happened? Okay, Brendan Allen took him down once in the first round. Only takedown attempts in the first round. Back in France last year, he gets it. Great. Second round, he goes 0 for 3 on his takedowns. Imavov then outstrikes him in that round. Third round, Allen desperately trying to get the fight on the ground, trying to win that fight. Again, put himself into title talks. 0 for 6 in the third round on takedowns. Nassourdine Imavov wins the fight by decision. I'm not telling you the Caio Borralho fight's going to go the exact same way, but I just don't think Borralho is able to continuously go to that takedown in this fight. And striking-wise, I don't care what anybody says, I like Nassourdine Imavov in a striking fight against Caio Borralho. Ultimately, here, the pick comes down to who you like more. Do you buy into the Borralho hype out of the fighting nerds? Do you buy into that? Do you think he's really that great? Or are you going to go with Imavov, who has actually won big fights in the UFC? And not to say Borralho hasn't either, but guys, Caio's best win is Jared Cannonier. He's ranked 7th. There's a reason Nassourdine Imavov's ranked 3rd. He's beaten Israel Adesanya. He's beaten Brendan Allen. And oh, by the way, he actually knocked out Jared Cannonier. Sure, questionable stoppage over in Louisville, Kentucky at the KFC Yum Center, but he actually knocked him out. And he dominated Roman Dolidze for 25 minutes and went 25 with Sean Strickland. What's Borralho's experience? A decision win over Jared Cannonier in the Apex. By the way, hasn't fought in 13 months. But whenever Paul Craig, Michal Zolshesha, good victories. Nowhere near to what Imavov has done. And stylistically, I believe Imavov's got this. Good striking, very good defensive wrestling. How does Borralho beat him, and how does Borralho win 3 rounds? He might be able to get 1 off a takedown. He might be able to get 2. I believe Imavov wins on the feet, and I don't think here's my main thing. I don't think Borralho is able to get 3 takedowns in this fight. That's the magic number. 3's the magic number. I'm going Nassourdine Imavov to beat Caio Borralho, and I believe he gets it done by unanimous decision. I think it's a close fight, but Imavov wins on the feet. Borralho may win on the ground, but again, do not sleep on the wrestling and sambo and grappling of Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov by unanimous decision, I don't think it's enough to really assert himself as the #1 contender. So we will move to Vancouver, British Columbia later in the year for Reinier de Ridder versus Anthony Hernandez, and that's how we decide Khamzat Chimaev's first title challenger, probably in 2027. Or maybe they'll just have the 2 winners fight, because Khamzat, again, when Khamzat won the world championship, they should have put the belt on the stool, because that's what Khamzat's going to do with the belt. Sit on it for over a year. Anyways, give me Nassourdine Imavov to beat Caio Borralho in the main event by decision. Folks, thank y'all for watching our UFC France predictions here on the channel. If you haven't yet, though, make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back again tomorrow, likely, for our Contender Series predictions, and later in the week for more UFC Paris, France content as well with our best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.